Today's episode is a very special one, as I am doing my first solo cast on this show. Yep, just you, me, and about 50 minutes of me riffing on some topics I've been stewing on recently. I've been putting off doing a solo cast until I felt in the energy for it. And this week was the week that the stars aligned, and I felt the call to hop on and share some more of the background of my journey, what I've learned so far when it comes to relationships, business, and life as a whole, and to pull back the curtain on some different aspects of me that you guys may have not heard before. So tap in, tune in, and get ready for a wild ride as we begin this journey, fam. What is up, everybody? Coming at you live today with a solo cast. I've never once done a solo cast on the Highly Optimized podcast. I think I only did one on this one time on Psychedelics too. But I wanted to come to you guys today because I just felt like doing a solo cast, to be completely honest. There's a lot of new things going on in my life. As I adjust my chair here. A lot of new things going on in my life, and I wanted to update you guys. There's some cool stuff coming up, and I always want to make invitations that if any of you want to be a part of any of these things, and these aren't just courses and programs and things like that, but more so movements that I've been very focused on, I would love to share that with you guys and give you guys an opportunity to come hang out, come have fun, come up-level yourself, come change your life, change your family's life, etc. And so I'm really excited to dive into all of this. So where I want to start this podcast is with a little bit of background. So I'm sure you guys have heard me on podcasts before where I've shared my full story. So I'm not going to share the full thing here. But what I want to say is that I'm starting to meet more and more people. And I imagine some of you guys are also this type of person that have always seen life a little bit differently than maybe the people around you. Not better, not worse. You're not, I'm not saying I'm better for seeing things differently or whatever, but just different. Okay. And at the end of the day, I think as the consciousness of this planet continues to rise and shift, less and less of the quote unquote normal world is going to feel safe or even exciting for us of any sort. A lot has changed for me over the past 5 years of running Highly Optimized. And really the reason I started that business was because I felt a cue in my heart that the world was changing and fast. And I had no idea what that meant. And I still don't really pretend to know what that means, but I think I have a better handle on it these days. And so for me, I grew up always thinking that the way that adults around me operated through life just wasn't really resonant with me. The idea of, let's say, for instance, or for example, working a job for 50 years just to collect retirement just seemed inefficient and silly. The idea of going to college, especially when I started in 2009, and going to college just seemed like, why am I even going to do this? I still went because I didn't know what else I was going to do. But at the same time, it's funny, people reach out to me all the time when I post self-development talk or anything like that. And they'll say, oh, well, what gives you the qualification? What gives you the qualification to be able to speak on these matters? Are you a psychologist or something? And I'm like, actually, yes, I am. But I will be the first to tell you that I don't remember anything I learned in school. Everything I talk about now has been through the certifications I've taken, the trainings I've undertaken, and also working with God directly through plant medicine and through a meditative practice and breath work and all the things I do. And so at the end of the day, all these things just weren't adding up for me. And I reached a point back when I was, I want to say 27, where I was working at the dispensary. And I just started to realize that if I didn't take accountability and ownership over the fact that I was at this dispensary because I was still choosing to be there, no one was keeping me there. The stories that we tell ourselves are very powerful and really they're the only thing, if you think about it, because events just happen. Okay. It raining outside, your dinner being cold. These are neutral events, but the story we tell ourselves about these events is what makes them AKA good or bad. All right. And so at the end of the day, it's one of those things where I started to realize the story I was telling myself was not the story that was going to get me any farther, and I think maybe some of you guys have felt this way. I almost imagine all of you have felt this way, that at a certain point, you realize that what got you to where you are currently is not going to be what gets you further. And that's what happened to me. And it was a very dark night of the soul. Okay. Because to accept that I was where I was in my life, which is not somewhere I really liked, to accept that it was because of me and me alone was hard. It fucking sucked, honestly, to admit that to myself. But on the other side of that darkness and that dark night of the soul was a world of liberation that has only gotten better and better as life has gone on. Because here's one of the big things I've figured out in life and discovered for myself, that I've never met any successful person that doesn't have a similar type of story. And so what I've discovered is that we must be our own biggest cheerleader. Okay. No one's going to come save the day for us. All right. No one's going to. We're not owed anything. We shouldn't demand anything. It's just a silly story of victimhood, of like, oh, well, I would do this if I, didn't have this trauma happen when I was a kid or whatever. And I'm not saying that trauma isn't real. All right. What I'm saying is you and you alone are the one that will either get through that trauma or keep you stuck there. It might not have been your fault that certain things in your life happened, but now as an adult, it is your responsibility to do something about it if you want a different experience of life. And I think that's something that I was never told. I don't know if you guys ever heard that. I've never met anyone that was told that in high school or college or anything, but this is like real life training. And when I made that decision in 2019, and I made that decision to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to accept that I am where I am because I put myself here. And maybe it was unconscious, but it's still my responsibility to take accountability and ownership over that. When I did that, everything changed because I realized that if I was the one that put me here, and I was the only one that put me here, and I didn't like the results I was getting, well, who was the only person that could change it? Me. So again, it went from complete disempowerment on the other side. Woe is me. Life is happening to me. I wish I could, I should, etc., to a complete world of empowerment. I can, I will, I am. And that's really what changes someone's life forever. It's really the only thing I think that can really make someone's life actually grandiose. Because again, at the end of the day, if you choose to see everything as happening for you, not because I can prove it to you, not because there's a scientific study that tells you, but because you choose to make a decision to believe something like that, everything will change. Because now you are seen as an adult in the eyes of God and Creator. You are seen as someone who is responsible enough to understand their role and their responsibility as the creator of their reality. We hear that a lot. We're the creator of our reality. But then if you're like me, I still played victim mentality and I played these things. And so did I really understand what being the creator of your reality meant? I would argue no. I could logically state it, which is what a lot of us are really good at. I was really good at saying all the right things, but I wasn't good at embodying them. And maybe you feel the same way. Maybe you don't. But again, I wanted to start this podcast with that little bit of preliminary info because a lot of people reach out and ask me, like, how did you do it? How did you get on these podcasts? Or how did you start a business? And I think they're expecting some like grandiose plan. And it's really just that one decision. That one decision rippled into every aspect of my life and still does. Because if an issue comes up in business, it's up to me. And I just go do it. I don't think about it anymore. I just go tackle it. If an issue comes up in my relationship with Rachel, I don't blame her. I just handle it. And again, it's not that, she's to blame or I'm to blame. I just know, and she knows too, she's very good at this, that regardless of who's quote unquote at fault, someone's got to take responsibility, and it always takes two to tango. All right. And so again, for you guys that are out there messaging me saying, how do I create the business of my dreams? Or how do I find a love interest that is my soulmate or whatever? It's not necessarily easy. And one of the things that I'll say too is that what I choose to believe is that we're here to really discover who we are, but we do that through discovering what we are not. And so again, at the end of the day, when you get into a relationship, for instance, like I have people reach out all the time and they're like, oh, it must be so amazing to be with someone that you never argue with and you always agree on everything. And I'm like, whoa. That is not true. We just got back from Virginia and we joke that every time we drive back from Virginia, we get into an argument. Well, we did this time. But the difference is that we're quicker to catch it. Okay. And the other thing is that when you can get into arguments and not try to run away from each other, not hop on Tinder and find the next person. This is one of the biggest challenges I see in today's world is people are not used to delayed gratification. They want everything instant. And the best things don't come in an instant. Okay. They just really don't. Because could they happen in an instant? Sure. It's within the realm of possibility. But typically the reasons they're not, the reasons why, let's say Rachel and I will argue, or I'll get frustrated in business or whatever, is not actually because of the thing that happened in business or because of the argument at hand. It's because of what I believe and my expectations around, say, business or Rachel or whatever. And those expectations, guess what? Those are a story. that I've been telling myself based on past experiences that either I learned through my parents, I learned through watching society. And again, when you look around, you realize there's a lot of broken people out there. And so again, the question becomes, who are you taking input from? Rach and I were just talking about this. I think one of the biggest challenges I see in the world today is people not using discernment in who they listen to. I do my fucking best, guys, to make sure that I always tell you guys, I don't have it all figured out. Don't believe anything I say just because I say it, okay? I realize I'm in a small position of influence here, but if you guys just think I say something cool and you're like, cool, sweet, and you don't use discernment to figure out, like, is that your thing though? Because everything here is subjective. Nothing is objective. If you don't take the time to be like, hey, that resonates, but let me go look into it and see if I come to the same conclusion, then you're allowing someone else to create your reality for you. And who does that? Kids do that. I did that for a long time because I was a kid. It didn't matter. I was 27. I was still in the consciousness of a child in a lot of ways. And again, this isn't to knock any of you or shame you or whatever. I'm literally admitting this was literally exactly what I went through. Because again, we're taught how to memorize shit. We're not taught how to live. We're not taught about consciousness. We're not taught about the nature of reality. We're not taught about stories or mindset or any of this stuff, emotional regulation, trauma resolution, any of this stuff. So it's okay to admit that you're an infant in something that you never learned. And that's what I had to accept. And what I did after that, because I accepted it, was I went out and I learned what I didn't know. And even now, I don't profess to know anything, but I profess to know things for myself subjectively. But again, it's different than objectively. Like, for instance, I know subjectively that cannabis helps me access God. But if someone comes to me and they say, hey, Ryan, is cannabis going to help me access God? I'm not going to say definitely because it helps me do it. I don't know what's going to happen when they connect with cannabis. So what I'm going to tell them is, I have no idea. Why don't you, if you resonate with this, why don't you go connect with cannabis and see what you feel? Because maybe it's your plant, but also maybe it's not. And again, at the end of the day, there are endless roads that will get you home. The only road that's the wrong one is the one that tells you there's only one road to get there. And that's another big piece of wisdom that I learned that helps me discern what I'm looking at, who I'm listening to, and whether or not it's worth listening to. The second someone says this is the only way, I tune out immediately. I'm like, nope, they're still stuck in infant consciousness. And it's not a judgment. It's just a clear observation. It's not my flavor of ice cream. Okay. And so at the end of the day, some of the reasons that my favorite teachers are people like Paul Chek is because Paul is totally like this. He's got 2 wives, for instance, and he has guys reach out to him all the time. Oh my God, how'd you do it? Oh my God, I want 2 wives. He's like, listen, dude, it's not what you think it is. Okay. And I love his line actually that he talks about. Until you learn to ride 1 horse really well, don't try riding 2 because it'll split you in half. But again, people see that and they think, oh, it's Paul. He's got all these qualifications. He's this guy. He's been doing this. That must be the way I got to live. And it's not. It might be, who knows, but it's not objectively the way you have to live your life. Really the way I look at life is it's a completely blank canvas and there is no right or wrong. So if you want to be right, you're wrong, and nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And at the end of the day, great spirit is down for whatever. And so again, it's been very interesting to watch. Let's throw an example here. I'm sure some of you guys saw that Aubrey Marcus episode and it triggered a lot of people. Okay. And I'm not going to say whether or not I agree with him or disagree. It really doesn't matter. But what I do see is a lot of spiritual people making a lot of judgments in the comments. It's different than an observation. If someone comments, hey, that sounds weird to me. It's not my flavor of tea, but hey, do whatever you want to do. That's one thing. Okay. But saying, oh my goodness, he definitely didn't talk to ISIS. He definitely didn't talk to Jesus. That's not him connected to God. Oh, really? Because you're him and you know objectively, you're so smart that you know objectively that he wasn't doing that? Or is it just your fucking opinion? Okay. And again, like I see this all the time because I used to do it. If you spot it, you got it. All right. But I've really done my best to work myself out of that because it's just thirst traps, guys. There's thirst traps everywhere. Oh my God, is Donald Trump going to do this? What's happening in Israel? Oh my God, what's happening over here? What's happening with this? Oh my God, there's a big earthquake. It's like, yeah, there was an earthquake in fucking Russia. You live in New York, all right? What is that doing to you, okay? Unless you live somewhere that there was going to be a tsunami, there's no reason to even waste time looking into that, all right? And again, I'm not saying that you can't do what you want to do in life. You want to go look at that, fine, right? But again, for me personally, I just see these things as thirst traps, which once again, don't believe anything I say. I'm not saying this because you have to agree with me. But for me, I look at the world as distraction or the real mission. And for me, subjectively, the real mission is to wake up within the dream through the modality of forgiveness with the help of plant medicine. That's what I do, to recognize and embody the fact that I am God and everything here is God. We're all God. We're all one being that is having a dream. And the whole point of the dream is to wake up within the dream, just like lucid dreaming. So for me, when I go into Instagram or I go into watch a movie or whatever, I want to see something that's going to help me remember that. And that's my subjective view. Okay. So for me, I've discerned that those things are worth me looking into because they help me in my mission. Everything else is a distraction. But I think a lot of people don't look into and discern what is their real mission, what do they want their mission to be, and what is just a distraction. Because again, we only have so much time, ladies and gents. Okay. Time is the most valuable resource we have. And with the instant gratification of dopamine hits through social media and all these things, it's never been easier to just sit there and dopamine high yourself to death. And at the end of the day, once again, I would not be doing what I am now. I'd not be literally filming this podcast now if I hadn't created some devotion to my mission, not discipline. Because for me, I tried the discipline thing for years. I tried just doing things because I should do them, working out every day because some guy said that's the way I should do it. You know, looking into reading every day because someone says I should wake up at 5 a.m. and read a book, doing a cold plunge every day because someone says I should do it. But at the end of the day, that's not really devotion. Devotion to me is, what are the things that I can identify that help me on my mission? Like for me, for instance, I like meditation and breath work in the morning, not because they're the things I should be doing, but because they help me clear my mind so I can show up for my clients and fulfill my mission. I love doing things like nicotine, for instance, before I record a podcast, because I don't like caffeine that much and it helps me stay very locked in. And I would never use something like Adderall or something like that. So again, someone might say, oh my God, Ryan, you run a business called Highly Optimized. It's about holistic health and plant medicine and all this beautiful stuff. And you talk about nicotine. Oh my God. And then their whole myth of cigarettes causing cancer and all these things, or tobacco causing cancer rather, comes in, when in reality, nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. So at the end of the day, is it really bad? I don't know. It doesn't feel bad to me. Might be bad to them, but am I going to take their belief on and let them control my reality? No. Right? And should they take my belief on and let me control their reality? No. If they don't want to use tobacco, they don't have to use tobacco, but it doesn't make it right or wrong. All right. It just makes it right or wrong for their individual subjective experience of life. And so at the end of the day, you know, if you just go through life looking at things and not discerning, you're just letting someone else create your reality. And with the world we have right now, it's never been easier to do that. It's never been easier to just go online, take in someone else's opinions about life, and then regurgitate them back. I mean, literally, like, welcome to every Instagram comment section ever. It's honestly insane when I go in there. And maybe you guys have noticed the same thing. But you know what I don't notice? No billionaire or millionaire or even person that is just very happy in their life, I don't see them in the comments. If I see something on Instagram that I disagree with, and I see stuff often, you know what I don't do? I don't go into the comments and talk shit. Why? Because I'm too busy doing the fucking shit that I love. All right. And so at the end of the day, you know, when people are stuck in comment sections and they're doing all these things, to me, I just see hurt people. All right. And maybe you guys see something different. I'm not saying I'm some holier than thou and I know what's going on, but that's what I see. And I think that for a lot of you guys, maybe you're in that level of consciousness. You know, maybe you know someone who's in that level of consciousness where you're getting very angry about things and you're wasting a lot of your energy trying to prove people wrong instead of trying to just focus on your mission. And again, you know, I'm not here for everybody. You know, there may be somebody that hears this and is like, fuck this guy, I'm never listening to a show again. Sorry, I'm not going to dumb down who I am just to appease someone. That's just not who I am. Who I am is the person who's going to talk specifically to you. The person watching this who's who I was, or very similar, about 6 or 7 years ago. The person who knows they have more inside of them, who's been very disciplined, who's done what they believe to be the right things. They've got their diet on point. They've got all these things, but there's a huge aspect of their life that still feels out of alignment. They feel like they're stuck in a position they can't get out of. And they're really motivated, but they just can't seem to figure it out because they're trying to figure it out with their mind, not their heart. And I say a lot, the heart has to come before the mind. You have to tap into why you were put on this planet right now, why you chose to incarnate, to be able to actually allow the mind to know what to do with that information. But most people, including myself, were trained to think that the mind is the all that exists. Everything's logical. Everything's rational. When you go to school, you pick the thing that's the safest bet if you want to make money so you can get the house and you can pay for it. You can go to the job and you can work there for 50 years. So then finally one day you can retire when you're like 65 and go travel, but then you have no purpose whatsoever because your whole purpose was the job that you didn't like, that you worked at for years, and then only look forward to retirement. So again, at the end of the day, I'm making this podcast episode specifically for you. Okay. The person or the people watching this that are really motivated, and maybe they're just getting a little confused because there's so much information out there. And there's so many people saying, this is the way to do it, or this is the way to do it. I'll be the first to tell you guys, there is no fucking one way to do anything in life. Okay. That's what I figured out in my 34 years of existence so far. I know people that have run business completely different than how I've done it, and they've been wildly successful. I know people that have tried to run it like I do, and they've been a massive failure in it. I've tried to run business many different ways and failed miserably at it. Okay. And so at the end of the day, there is no right or wrong. But if you want to be right, you're wrong. One of my favorite sayings that Rachel came up with, very hermetic in nature. Bringing up hermetics, if you guys haven't checked out the 7 Hermetic Principles, a great guiding stone. At least I think so. Okay. Maybe you'll hate it, but I think it's a very simplistic way to understand the laws of engagement within the universe that we think we're existing in. Because again, we're existing within a dream world that is not real. At least that's what I believe. But within this dream, there are some perceived laws that if you understand and you know how to work around, you can really make some interesting stuff happen in life. And Hermetic Principles were a very big part of how I got myself out of what I was talking about before and into what I am now. Another book that I recommend often, you guys are probably so fucking sick of hearing me say this, but I'm going to say it again because I don't mind being a broken record, is The Disappearance of the Universe. I was just talking to a client about that right before I started this podcast, and I had recommended it to them about 3.5, 4 weeks ago. And they came back like, dude, what the fuck? And we did a whole appointment on breaking down what they were teaching in there. Again, these things are not going to be for everyone, and they don't need to be for everyone. There's endless roads to get you home, So again, take these things as suggestions, look into them, see if they resonate. If you can already tell they don't resonate, then whatever. It's okay. I'm not going to take it personally because you know what? At the end of the day, I was just talking about the same thing with a client too. If you really believe something and know it for yourself subjectively, you shouldn't need anyone to agree with you. The validation you need from others shows you that you don't really believe what you think you believe, and you don't really know what you think you know. I have people come up to me all the time and say, oh, cannabis, that shit sucks. I hate it. I'm like, cool. I don't care. I don't care what you tell me about cannabis. I don't believe your myth. I believe my myth. That's why I created it. And that's fine. And it's actually beautiful in a way. I don't want everyone to agree with me. That'd be boring. How do you get any discussions done? How do you learn anything if everyone just agrees with everything you say? But again, I know I was trained to think that when someone doesn't agree with you, you got to go on the defense. And again, maybe you guys weren't raised that way, but that's how I was raised. And so at the end of the day, it took a lot to break through a lot of that. And I'm still breaking through a lot of it. We're all works in progress. That's why we're here. If we were enlightened, we wouldn't have shown up again here. At least we wouldn't have shown up with, I don't know how to say it, but we wouldn't have shown up with this many challenges still if we were enlightened. Okay, put it that way. And so at the end of the day, these are some of the things that I just really felt like I wanted to share with you guys today because, I don't share a lot of, on podcasts when I get featured on there, there's kind of like a certain story I want to tell. And it's my story, but I can't get into all these inner workings of specifically the changes and things like that because I only have so long. And they usually want to get into the cannabis stuff pretty frequently. And so at the end of the day, my podcast is the place where I can share with you guys a little bit more of what's happened behind the scenes in the last 5 years, how messy it's been a lot of the time, how many times I wanted to pull my fucking hair out, how many times Rachel and I have argued, how many times I thought my business was a failure. But the thing was, I just kept going forward. I didn't let the old myths, I didn't let the stories consume me like I once did in life. Because again, if you want to do something great in life, you're going to be tested. I've never met one person that tried to pave their own path or tried to do something amazing in life that touched the world forever that wasn't tested. And so those tests really shape you into who you are. And they're there on purpose. Because if you think about the metaphor of a gym, if you want to build big muscles, you got to go through some pretty harsh stuff to do it. You got to go to the gym a lot. You got to break down and tear muscle fiber, but you can't tear it too much either. Because if you tear it too much, then it can't repair, and then you don't have good recovery, and then you lose all your progress. So again, it's very similar like this. If you bite off more than you can chew at once, if you take an insane amount of psychedelics or whatever, because you want the other side of it, you could just fracture your psyche. All right. So again, at the end of the day, these challenges, they slowly start to build your soul muscle, your spirit muscle of being able to handle more and more challenging things and not breaking down. and being able to manage your nervous system in the face of adversity. This is the reason why I really feel I sauna, I meditate, I do breath work, I've done psychedelics. Like, it's to shape that muscle of, okay, what do I do? How do I react or respond when uncomfortability surfaces? Because that same stuff I learned there is going to apply when I'm stuck in traffic, when I get cut off, when Rachel says something when I'm in a bad mood that I take the wrong way. Like, all of that is my ability to respond, not react. And so every single day, I'm devoting myself to placing myself in situations that don't exactly feel comfortable so that I can find the comfort within the discomfort, because life ultimately is going to have discomfort in it. And if you don't understand and learn how to respond to that, you're just going to be a hothead, or you're probably just going to give up and be like, it's too much work. I don't want to do it. Well, it's not really that you don't want to do it. It's that you're scared of what it's going to take to do it. That's what I was scared of anyway. And so at the end of the day, Rome wasn't built in a day. I was actually in Rome recently. All right. It's pretty weird, actually, but it wasn't built in a day, but it was built eventually. If you can create like a certain goal, like, hey, I want to create my own business, or I want to make this much money, or whatever it is. And then you can kind of forget about the big goal and just take it day by day. That's the way I personally found works best for me. Maybe you guys are different, maybe the same, but that's helped me a lot. And so this all leads me, right, to a lot of what I've been working on recently. And a lot of where my mindset has been at. I'm sure it's no secret to any of you that the world is changing right now. We have a lot of political turmoil. We always do, but we're more aware than ever right now. And so it seems like we have worse stuff going on than ever, but really it's just a lot of people coming into heart-based consciousness that don't know what to do with that. And so at the end of the day, we have a lot of things going on. We have the dollar potentially crashing. We have China doing its thing. We have the tariffs. We have all this stuff going on. And so for me, the biggest thing that I've found in this time is to get as decentralized as possible, to look at, okay, what's my projection? What do smarter people than I say about finance? What do smarter people than I say about how everything's going to be in the future? And then when I tune into those things, how do I feel listening to them? Do I agree with them? Do I not agree with them? Well, the things that I agree with so far is that I think the dollar is going out. I don't think the dollar is going to be around much longer. Okay. Whether it's a year, 5 years, 10 years, I have no idea. I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't think it's going to be around much longer. And if you look at, even since we left the gold standard, for instance, it's been declining in value for 40 years now or something like that. So at the end of the day, that shows me, okay, keeping my money in dollars is not really a good investment long term. Then obviously we see the explosion of crypto and things like that. And it makes a lot of sense to me of why I got into crypto when I did, because I could see this stuff. And again, people much smarter than I that knew much more than I were telling me it, and it resonated with me. So I've really been focused on not just decentralized finance, but how do I set myself up for this? And how do I set the people I love up for this? And how do I set the people that listen to me and follow me and whatever? Like, how do I fix this? All right. How do I create the new earth? Not alone, obviously. I'm not talking about, I'm going to create the new earth, but how do I get together with my best friends and create heaven on earth? That's what I want, because all of us have unique magic. I can't do this alone. No one can do it alone. All right. I may be very good at a couple things, guys, but when it comes to a lot of other stuff, yeah, I'm not good at it. But I have friends that are really good at that stuff. And so if we all come together and collaborate, because I really think that collaboration is going to be a much bigger thing. I've even seen it in business, like even 3 years ago, everyone was trying to run a business on their own. They were the CEO or whatever, owner of it. And they had like a 50-person team underneath them. And these are like coaching businesses I'm talking about. I don't know about the entire realm of business, but this is a lot of what I was seeing. And now almost no one wants a team. Like, the obsession is, how lean can I make this thing? And how much can I collaborate with people to grow my audience instead of posting on Instagram all the time? How can I do all this stuff? And so that's a lot of what I've been working on. Is, okay, my ultimate skill set in this world is being a connector. That's the thing I really feel I'm best in the world at, is knowing what people would resonate with other people and putting them together and watching magic happen. So that's really what my role's been. It's like, okay, how do I architect a system where we can all connect together? And I've done this through certain things, the Conscious Cannabis Collective, Coach with Cannabis, not so much, but the Breathe with Cannabis Collective, that's the newest thing. That's kind of a low ticket community. Because I get it. Also, money's very weird right now. People aren't buying the things they used to buy. They don't want to buy these, $7,000 to $10,000 programs. Okay. And I'm grateful for that because I bought a couple of those and, it's a lot of money to spend. And so at the end of the day, like, how do I have my cake, eat it too, and make sure the cake's gluten-free here? And so that's what I've really, really been working on. Hey, you. Yeah, you. Are you listening to the show and haven't registered for the free summit I'm hosting that I've been talking about this entire episode yet? Well, if so, we're hosting the Modern Awakening Summit August 4th to August 7th. We're going to have amazing people there. Daniel Raphael, Christian Van Camp, Adam Potts, Happy Jack Yoga, Mike Salemi, me and Christopher August doing Breathe with Cannabis, and even more as well. And like I said before, this thing is completely free. So head down to the show notes if you want to join us, register, and I'll see you guys on the inside. Now back to the show. And I'm sure you guys, if you follow my Instagram, you may have seen that I'm doing a summit soon called the Modern Awakening Summit. It's completely free to come to. I got a bunch of really cool people together. I got my buddy Daniel Raphael, who is incredible. I mean, he's really like a real life wizard. And don't believe me, go look it up and see for yourself. Actually, funny story. The first time I met him in person, we were doing a Breathe with Cannabis event, and he was gracious enough to gift us his house to use for the night. And so he's hanging out. And when I get there, I'm meeting him. And he was one of the first students that Mark England had. So we had a lot of, mutual connections and whatnot. And when I show up, I'm like, hey, is there a place I can plug the volcano in? He's like, yeah. Do you want to smoke some spice? And I'm like, dude, what do you mean? Like synthetic cannabinoid stuff? Like, no, I don't want myself anywhere near that. He's like, no, dude, not that kind of spice. He's like, the spice from Dune. And I'm like, what the fuck? How do you have the spice from Dune? Like, does that even exist? He's like, no, dude, I met this alchemist up in the Andes Mountains or somewhere. I forget exactly where, but he taught me how to make it using these two roots. And so I was like, okay, fuck it, I'm down to try. So I tried some and it was wild. It was crazy. And I was like, this guy has got some codes to teach the world. All right. And so he'll be there. My buddy Christian Van Camp, who is, I think, in my opinion, one of the leading experts on not only men's health, but also what we're talking about here, collaboration. That dude is amazing at this stuff. He runs these bioculture retreats with this kid, Dakota, and they have an amazing brand. Go check it out. It's awesome. And he is amazing at what he does on Instagram. He's very good at growing people on Instagram and helping people grow, but he's very good at men's health. And again, results don't lie. Okay. That's something I forgot earlier when I was talking about discernment, but you look at the kid, he knows health. All right. Why? Because he's fit. And that's how you can tell if someone's talking shit or they really know what they're talking about. Like if I was here telling you guys about health and I was fat and overweight, would you believe me? No. Why? Because the results don't match the story. All right. So that's another quick way to discern if someone's being honest or they're being deceitful, even if they're not aware of it. Like for instance, during the pandemic, there were a lot of people telling you what health was that were the epitome of what the lack of health was. All right. So these are all lessons that we have the opportunity to learn here, but I digress. So Christian will be there. Chris and I will be kickstarting the entire thing with the Flow State edition of Breathe with Cannabis. We'll then also have a guy named Adam Potts doing Tai Chi and movement science. He is amazing at what he does. Absolutely incredible. He's one of the biggest accounts on YouTube teaching Tai Chi and Qigong. And then we have Happy Jack Yoga. And if you want to know if he's good at yoga, you should ask Tony Robbins because he's Tony Robbins' yoga guy. So I think, do we have anyone else coming too? Oh, yes. We have my buddy Mike Salemi, who is, an absolute fucking unit, built like a brick shithouse of a man. And he is the kindest, warmest individual I have ever met in my life. And I don't say that lightly. I met him through Paul Chek. He is, he's broken a lot of world records with powerlifting and stuff. And he is just a fucking gem of a human being. And he'll be doing the Enlifted method, working people's stories out when it comes to flow state and why they're not in the flow and what's happened. And so literally, guys, I'm promising you, it's a free event. Come out, come get yourself tuned up and have some fun with it. That's why we're doing it. You guys have probably seen recently, I'm hosting a lot of free workshops and free Breathe with Cannabis stuff. I'm just sick of always thinking that the point of business is to make money. Like, yes, it is, but also it's to bring people together. That's why I'm doing it. Okay. Because money actually isn't real. Do I want a lot of it? Yes. Because it takes a lot of this, not real money to do things in the world. If I want to help the world become a better place, well, I have to go up against people that are trying to make the world a worse place with a lot of money. So I need a lot of money too. But that's not everything. That's not why I created the business. I created a business, and this business specifically, to bring people together, to allow you to come into a room. If you're someone out there, like I felt for years, trying to find your tribe, thinking you're the one weirdo in your friend group or whatever, the one that's talking about, the pandemic or, whatever it is, okay? Fluoride in your drinking water and why that's not okay. Whatever this stuff is that you talk about that no one else seems to be interested in, well, I am really good at finding other people like you, okay? Please allow me to connect you with other people. Please come out for fucking free and just meet other people that are like you. At the end of the event, we'll have an expert Q&A panel as well, where you can just talk to us, all right? This isn't just pre-recorded things and you don't get a connection. We're doing this all live. We're going to have a Q&A at the end. I'm hosting the whole thing, which I'm super excited about because I love hosting stuff. But you can ask Mike Silliman. You can ask Daniel Raphael. You can ask Christian Van Camp. You can ask them the questions you have after their things, because that's where integration really happens, okay? You don't need more information. You need more implementation. And that's what we're going to help you do there for free, all right? So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is I have a lot of you guys reach out that are like, Ryan, where can I get cannabis like yours? And I'm sorry to tell you, I don't sell my cannabis. I never have. I never will. I will gladly gift it to you if we're in person together, but I'm not trying to get myself in any trouble. All right. So if you're in California, for instance, or Colorado, or I don't know why I'm calling out the biggest cannabis states where you probably don't have that issue, but say you're in South Dakota. You're like, I want some of Ryan's cannabis. Well, sorry, I'm probably never going to come to South Dakota. So unless you end up in Boston and you want me to gift you a couple grams or whatever, we're just not going to get to try it. So where does that leave? Everyone, right? Well, I've been working fast at this. I've been trying to find a place for years that has the variety and everything. And I found a couple places. I've recommended them before. They're still great places. But I have found the mother of all these places. You guys may have seen it in the show notes or in the ad last week. You probably already seen it in the ad that ran at the beginning of this podcast. But that is the Sacred Smoke Collective, okay? And this is an organization that's selling THCA hemp flower, all right? For anyone that doesn't understand the loophole there, go look into the 2018 Farm Bill. But this is fully legal. It's THCA hemp flower. And this is from some of the best growers in the world in the Emerald Triangle. And it's only, I think, $180 an ounce. I just found this company a couple of weeks ago. And, actually about a month ago now. Fuck, time's flying. But I got some samples from them and I was like, holy shit, this is the highest vibrational hemp flower that I've ever found in my life. And the variety is insane. The prices are incredible. So it's a decentralized network, which is why I'm mentioning it in the context of this conversation. But you pay with Bitcoin. You can get a gift card, pay with Bitcoin. They have a whole process. It's a PMA, Private Member Association, all decentralized. So your records aren't kept there or anything like that. And I want to do some collabs with these people. I don't even know really who runs it. It's a faceless organization. But, again, I'm looking at, okay, how do we decentralize medicine in the form of cannabis? Boom, Sacred Smoke Collective. How do we decentralize community? Boom, I got Breathe with Cannabis. I got the CCC. I got some other things. How do we decentralize education? Well, I'm doing that through the workshops. I'm doing it through the summits. I'm doing it through that way. How do we decentralize food? That one is interesting. You can go to a place called myrealfoods.com and look up, this is a farm in your area that is part of this network. That's how I order all my food. It comes from the Amish out in Pennsylvania here in Boston. But again, I'm fastly looking to bring people together to figure out how do we get ready for the new earth and what's coming. Because again, it's going to be a very weird thing when people just keep existing in the old world and the new world is here overnight. I mean, again, if you haven't listened to people like John McAfee when he was alive, maybe he's still alive, I don't know, but talking about cybersecurity and how to protect yourself, how to make sure your finances are protected. These are very important things. For instance, John McAfee, when he moved to Belize, they tried to extort him. He had to run from the country. And guess where all his money was? In the fucking bank. Got seized, okay? And that could happen to you as well. I'm not trying to breed fear here, but I am trying to breed awareness and observation. And so with crypto, you can completely privatize things. And I'm telling you guys right now, the same government that would rather you put an experimental vaccine into you than tell you they fibbed the whole thing, you really don't think those people are going to do the same shit? Okay, call a spade, all right? These are shitty people that are not coming from light. They're coming from darkness. They're negatively polarized. And at the end of the day, the best offense is defense, all right? And so at the end of the day, get yourself situated, learn about this stuff, take advantage of the free shit I'm putting out there, all right? That's part of the reason I do this podcast. It's part of the reason I do all this stuff, because I realize some of you guys now might not be in a financial position where you can work with me one-on-one or even join one of my low ticket things. So please don't let all this information die in vain. All right. Look into this stuff. Set your family up. If you're listening to my podcast, chances are you're the one in your family, the one that's meant to break a long-standing lineage pattern of normalcy. And that doesn't mean it's bad, okay? It doesn't mean that it's bad that maybe your parents took the normal route or whatever. They lived in a different world than you're growing up in right now. But if you're listening to this right now, I can almost guarantee you are the one. And so it is up to you. And yes, it's a lot of responsibility, but also remember who the fuck you are. And remember that you signed up to come down here and go through this because you're a badass motherfucker and you can do this, okay? So at the end of the day, if that's you, take advantage when you see me putting out free stuff. Take advantage. Come to the workshops. Ask me questions. Use me for whatever I've learned so far. The same way that I utilize people that have gotten farther than I have. How do you think I've gotten where I am? It's all through the people I know. All right. It's through being a connector. It's through asking the right questions. It's through surrounding myself with people that make me feel dumb. I like feeling like the dumbest person in the room. My ego doesn't like it at all. It hates it. It wants me to stay right where I've been at forever. It wants me the second I get to a new level, nope, let's just stay here forever. But you don't grow that way. And we're not here to just observe life. Life is not an observation sport. We're not here to be static. Nothing is static. All right. The law of vibration from hermetic principles says nothing rests, everything vibrates. So if you try to rest for too long and you just try to stay stationary, it's not fun. I've watched people do it, family members, etc. It's not fun, guys. All right. And so at the end of the day, maybe that's your lesson in this lifetime. All right. I'm not trying to interfere with your karma. I don't know. And I know that I don't know. But what I can say is if right now you're resonating with this, there's a reason. If you're not, there's a reason too. It's okay. Right. Like I said, some people or at least one person probably is not going to like this episode. But what I've been really trying to do more of or take out the try, what I've really been focused on doing more of is not always just being the funny guy that's lighthearted, because that is me, but I'm also a fucking savage, guys. All right. And I'm very, very focused on helping as many people as I can. And I'm at a point now where I really want to see which one of you guys or how many of you guys are really along for this ride, who really are going to be the one in their family, because I don't really want to make content that appeases everyone anymore. I don't really want to be neutral on certain things. I don't want to try to make everyone happy. That's my old patterns. And I'm over that. What I want to do is empower people. And sometimes empowerment comes in some weird gift wrapping paper. Sometimes it doesn't feel good. I remember one of the first coaches I worked with, shout out to Angelo Cisco. When I started my business, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had no idea. And so I spent a lot of time traveling, and that was essential. It was essential because I was making a lot of connections, but I kind of after a while felt like I'm kind of just fucking around here. Like I don't really know like how I'm going to make this what I want it to be. And so I was at the lake house with Mark England, and in walks these three guys that were gangsters. All right. Marcus Guerzi, Ryan Bucciantini, and Angelo Cisco. I've actually had them all on this podcast way in the past, but I immediately just loved their vibe. I just knew, I was like, these guys are fucking savages. These guys are running a real business. And Lifted was too. I mean, 100%. Mark taught me a lot of stuff. But I could tell Angelo was like just a fucking savage. And I needed that energy in my life. I was like, I need some strong masculine energy. I need to be told when I'm just like fucking up, basically. I don't want this lighthearted shit anymore. I want to be told like, hey, you're wasting your potential. I need to be told those things when I'm doing it, because I just want to get farther much quicker. And if I get hurt in the process, my ego gets hurt, whatever. I don't care. My mission's more important. And so I end up hiring this guy because we're sitting at the table, we're hitting some bags, and he's like, so tell me about your business. And I was like, well, I'm doing this thing. And it was before I had to connect with cannabis or went on any of these podcasts. So I didn't even have these programs. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing this thing. And, I'm kind of getting into mindset work, and I like Paul Chek's work, and I love cannabis. And he's like, so you're basically just fucking around. You don't really know what you're doing. And I was like, shit, fuck. Why does that hurt? Because it's fucking true. And I know it's true. Because I hadn't been doing it at that point. Like for about 2 months then, I had felt like, okay, my time just traveling everywhere and meeting people needs to come to a stop for a while. And I need to get home and get grounded and figure out what the fuck this is going to be. And so right off the bat, I knew. I was like, I want to coach with this guy. And so I ended up hiring him. I ended up going out to San Clemente, California, and living with him for like 2 months. And during that time, there was a lot of hard lessons. And I'm very grateful for them, because he just told me, he's like, listen, dude, it's more of kind of what I learned in 2019, just deeper layers. Like, listen, dude, it's fucking up to you. There's no one to blame. And if you let these people pleasing tendencies and whatever it is overwhelm you, you're never going to make the mark on the world you want to. I remember there was a person, I won't say their name. I don't think it's bad if I do, but I won't just in case. But there was a person I look up to that I had met through Paul Chek briefly at his Zen in the Garden workshop, who I really looked up to. And I wanted to hang out with him. And we had done a podcast together. He was gracious. He was my first big guest ever. You guys can probably figure out who it is. And he was awesome about it. He was like, dude, when you come out to California, let me know. We can drive the McLaren, shoot guns. I was like, sick. Like, this is awesome. This guy's the man. So I get out there and I message him on Instagram and I'm like, hey, I'm out here. And he's like, sick. I'll let you know like what day I'm available. And so a couple days go by and I'm getting closer to my time leaving. And Angela's like, hey, did you close that loop? Right? Which basically means like, did you close it? I'll explain what it means after. Actually, it's better after. But he's like, did you close the loop? And I'm like, well, I reached out to him, but I don't want to be annoying, dude. Like I reached out to him, like, and he's like, nah, fuck that, dude. If you're being annoying and someone thinks you're being annoying and they don't tell you, whose fucking fault is that? I was like, shit, he's fucking right. That's their responsibility. If they think I'm being annoying and they don't say, hey, dude, you're being annoying, tough shit, dude. I'm going to keep asking until you tell me. So I went back on Instagram and I messaged him again and I was like, hey, just want to let you know I'm leaving tomorrow. You said you wanted to hang. Let's get this thing going. Texts me back an hour later. He's like, let's go. Sends me his address and boom, we end up hanging out. And that's the idea is you don't want to leave open loops everywhere. That's what I used to do. I had a fetish for leaving open loops. Like, oh yeah, I'll totally text you. And then I never text them. Like, no, what I do now is if I say I'm going to text you, I hop right in and I text you right away. Is that because I'm holier than thou? No, it's just because I don't want to fucking leave open loops everywhere because it's exhausting. All right. And you don't get anywhere like that. You feel frazzled. And that's how I felt. And so at the end of the day, it taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about what life really is and what it takes to live a life that is fulfilling. And I'm not talking about making bank and buying Lambos. Like, cool, that may happen if you make enough money. But I'm talking about like, especially for me, and sorry for the women to listen, because I'm not going to try to talk from a woman's perspective, but what it means to be a fucking man. Okay. Like what it really means to be a man, which is not, just grinding to the grindstone all the time. It's not making tons of money. It's not fucking, having sex with a bunch of women. It's not any of that shit that as men, we've been told as men is being a man. What it really is being able to respond, not react, and allow yourself to feel comfortable in discomforting situations and keeping a level head and also being honest with yourself and others. Love is truth. And men, I really feel the purpose here for us is to be in truth. I mean, I feel like for everyone, but again, I'm not going to speak for women because I don't want to. At the end of the day, like, I think that experience with Angela really taught me a lot. And right after that experience is when I got on Paul Chek's podcast, I got on Aubrey's podcast, and I just went hard because again, it didn't feel hard, but it just felt like, okay, I'm just closing my loops and I'm doing what people say they want to do with me. They say they want to get me on, I'm going to reach out to them and I'm never going to let them forget me until they tell me to fuck off or they get me on the podcast. And again, like that was because I stopped thinking and believing that other people's emotions were my responsibility. That was a big pattern I ran. I call it emotional slavery. Being like, oh, well, I really want to say that to that person, but can they handle it? I don't know. So I'm just going to say this to try to make them happy. Listen, first of all, that's just shooting other people in the foot because that's stopping their development. If it's hard for them to hear and they don't agree with it, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't say it. All right. I'm not saying you should be mean and call them an asshole or whatever, but I'm saying like, for instance, if I'm trying to throw out an example here, like, okay, I'll throw out the example I had. If someone says, hey, dude, next time you come out here, let me know and we'll hang out, then you want to keep reaching out to them because they said they want to hang out. You can't start thinking like, oh, maybe I'm annoying them. It's like, no, they have to be man enough to tell me also, hey, man, you're being annoying. I don't have time for you. And then you'll know, okay, I can stop going in that direction because I've gotten a final answer. One of the best things I heard about sales too was, I don't mind if I get a yes or no, but I am going to get an answer. I'm not going to leave with, I don't know, maybe just reach out to me in 2 weeks. Like, no, you're going to tell me yes or no on this call. And I don't care. I'm not going to try to force you into a yes, but I am going to get a yes or a no because I'm not going to leave this loop open. I want to know, can I keep moving on with life now? All right. So at the end of the day, I'm looking at my list here. I think that's really most of what I wanted to talk to you guys today about because this stuff's just been really on me recently. And, again, I want you guys, for anyone out there who is really a go-getter, that really sees themselves doing big, amazing things. Maybe someone out there that's already doing amazing things. Probably a lot of you guys. You're listening to this podcast, for God's sake. So I'd love to hope that you're all doing amazing shit. Maybe you have an idea to collaborate with me. Maybe maybe you also have a workshop and you want to invite me to it. Sick. Let's start sharing cool stuff. Let's have sleepovers, guys. All right. Like metaphorical sleepovers. Okay. Maybe retreats. All right. Actual sleepovers. But this is the new way and we can't do it alone. Okay. And there is no competition. All right. I share clients with my friends and family all the time. All right. I have a good buddy. Shout out to Eric Reinhardt. He builds amazing websites and does amazing logos. If you guys have checked out the new highlyoptimized.com website, you've already seen his handiwork. But, a lot of clients I work with, I do a lot of business coaching now, which is pretty funny for my one-on-one stuff. And a lot of times they get to the point where they're like, sick, I need a logo, I need a website. I'm like, cool, pass you off to Eric. And then they come back like, dude, holy shit, that was amazing. Oh my God. And it looks great for me too, because I know the people that can continue helping them. And then Eric might, link them with someone else that can help them set up something he doesn't set up. And so I couldn't have done that. I didn't lose out on any money or anything silly like that. And now they just got a better experience in working with me because I could recommend them to my friends. And they have friends too, like new connections they're making. And who knows, maybe they'll go out and start a podcast. One of my clients, Dave Ray, that reached out to me on Instagram is now one of my best homies in the world. I was just hanging out with him down in Virginia. And now him and Adam Chin, Mark England's business partner, run a podcast called The Dirty Rotten Cinephiles. All because he said yes to something he saw. Okay? I want to make that clear. He saw a reel and he was courageous enough to reach out and admit that he didn't know everything that he thought he knew and that he wanted to learn some stuff. And that one decision changed his entire fucking life. The same way that when Mark England reached out to me and said, hey, dude, I really like what you're saying. We should hop on a call. I said yes. And then when he said, I have this program and it felt right to me, I said yes. And I've never stopped saying yes to what felt good for me since. And that's the only reason between that and connections that I am where I am. And that's exactly what I've seen other people do. And I'm telling you guys, like, it all starts with a small decision. So if you're someone out there that's feeling like, oh man, like, I wish my life looked like this, dude, you can make it look like this. You don't have to wish for shit. Just do one thing different tomorrow, then do one thing different the next day. And before you know it, your whole life will look different. Okay. Oh, it's going to take so long. Yeah, the time's going to go by anyway. So what the fuck else are you going to do? All right. You can either wake up 5 years from now and be like, man, it'd be great if I started back then. I would have been so good now. Or you can just do the thing. Okay. So at the end of the day, please, if you're out there and you're like I was 5, 6, 7 years ago, just don't do the same things I did. Okay. And actually, no, I'll change that statement. Do whatever you want to do. Okay. But I can tell you in living both sides, one side is a lot better than the other, subjectively for me anyway. All right. And if someone's out there that's already doing some gangster shit, listening, whatever, you want to collaborate, you want to make new connections, reach out to me. Okay. You have a podcast you want to get on that I know of and I know the host of, reach out to me. Now, again, when I say that, please don't reach out. Hey, Aubrey Marcus or Paul Check. Those are gigantic fish and I can't just connect any one of them. But again, like in Lifted, any of these people I talk about, guys, like I would happily connect you to any of them as long as you're going to show up. All right. And not be a silly goose. All right. Take advantage of it. So I love you guys. I hope you're having a great, great day. Please come out to the summit. This podcast is going to air this Friday, which would be August 1st. So August 4th, next Monday. By the time this releases 3 days from now, we're starting the summit. If you are serious about changing your life and you're the first person I talked about, right? The person that was like me 6, 7 years ago, or just someone who wants more out of life, put your money where your mouth is. Well, metaphorical money because it's free, but come out and do something different. If you want a different result in life, you got to do something different. So prove to yourself that you can do something different because once you do it once, rinse and repeat. Okay. The thing that's different may change, but the action is the same. Doing something different, even if you feel fear, even if you feel anxiety. Again, unless you're putting yourself in a dangerous situation, which never do that. That's not what I'm saying. Most of the things that our bodies feel like are dangerous are really just us trying to leave our comfort zone and being like, oh, I don't know. It's all weird. It's going to be weird. Okay. Just get used to it. But the more you get used to it, the less weird it will be and the more that you'll actually be excited about it. Like for instance, I'm sure some of you guys go to the gym. I bet the first time you went to the gym, you were like, why am I doing this? This sucks. It hurts. Now I know when I go to the gym, I'm like, make it burn more. I want the pain because I know what's on the other side of it. I know what happens when your muscles burn. They grow. All right. So life works the same way. How we do anything is how we do everything. So I love you guys. May the source be with you. Always feel free to reach out through Instagram, share your takeaways from the podcast, ask questions, all that stuff. I do my best to get back to all the messages that people send me. Just give me a little bit of grace. It's only me doing my DMs. I don't hire anyone to do it. It's only me you're talking to there. So it does take a little bit of time sometimes because I wait until I have the energy to do it. But again, if you want to hop into the Breathe with Cannabis Collective, you want to hop into the free summit, reach out. Okay. I try to put the links in the show notes, but I can't put them all in there all the time because it's too many links. But again, guys, reach out. I'm always here to support. It's what my mission here is on the earth, is to help humanity rise along with me rising. So I love you guys. Have a great day. May the source be with you to infinity and beyond. Peace for now.